Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles, to Face Palm Tuesday. And I say Tuesday because this video was majorly delayed for quite a few different reasons. However, before we begin, I want to tell you about Audible. Audible.com is a company hosted by Amazon that hosts thousands upon thousands of audiobooks for your listening entertainment and enjoyment. In fact, the book I want to recommend to you today is Religion Poisons Everything by Christopher Hitchens. If you sign up with my vanity URL, audible.com/MrRepzion, you can get a 1-month free trial for audible.com along with a free audiobook, and that's the book I would recommend because it's kind of going to coincide with today's video discussing Islam yet again, or I should say face palming with Islam today. So first things first about YouTube. When you title videos, it is vitally important that you understand that people are going to judge that video based upon the title, which, of course, my video a couple days ago, I already knew what was going to happen. When you title a video, religion, or Islam is not a religion of peace, people are going to see that title and instantly get offended and upset. And boy, did that happen. And I knew that would, but one of the things that's so surprising to me is how people are like, say, yeah, bash Christianity, discuss Christianity, dissect Christianity, we hate Christianity, or we don't like religion, Christianity's a terrible thing, and then people request me all the time to talk about Islam, and why don't talk about Islam anymore. So I make a video on Islam and my opinion on what I really think about Islam. It's not a religion of peace, and all people flip their shit, like quite literally pick their shit from their ass and throw it up in the air of how upset they are. Which is perfectly fine, but I'm shocked that the people who wanted me to talk about Islam for so long, I make a video against Islam, and boy, people's jimmies are rustled. Before we begin, I want to make a few clarifications. One, in that video, I did make a geographical error. I know I'm not the only one who mixes up Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. I made a statement in my previous video on Islam saying that people in Afghanistan, since Afghanistan is actually not located in the Middle East, I was wrong on that, I was meaning Saudi Arabia, and I think I'm not the only one who constantly mixes up those two countries, Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. What I meant to say is women who can't drive were specifically in Saudi Arabia, where they constantly still live out practices of Islam. So now that's out of the way, yes, I made a geographical error. That's one of the many awesome perks you get from being homeschooled, a lack of actual good education. Second point I'd like to make is a lot of people got very upset at the fact that I made a statement that's saying not to generalize Muslims who wear turbans. Why people got mad at this, I don't know, but there was a lot of ignorance in regards to turbans or things people wear on their heads. In fact, I even corrected a few people, but that didn't stop people from still writing comments saying Muslims do not wear turbans, and I would like to correct you, just like I've corrected a few other people on this. The link that I gave several other people understanding turbans. Now, a lot of people said that Muslims do not wear turbans, rather it's sheikh, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the fact of the matter is they do. The difference is as you can see, a sheikh is the design is like a V, and then the Muslim religious leaders, and I'm not saying that all Muslims wear turbans, but I'm just saying that Muslims do in fact wear turbans. So my statement that I made was not actually incorrect regarding don't stereotype someone who wears a turban as a Muslim. I mean, this link is linked down below. You can look it for yourself. Muslim religious leaders, as it describes, they're more of a circular, in the back of their turban has like almost like a ponytail to an extent. Then it goes Afghan men, Iranian leaders, Indian men, and the Kahif and desert people. Yeah, basically, it gives a good summary of exactly what type of turbans or headbands that these types of people wear. Why people were so upset that the fact that I said Muslims wear turbans, I don't know, because my statement wasn't wrong. I don't even know why it was such a big deal to begin with. And finally, my third point, which is where this video really shoots off and stems off, is this beautiful book. What is this? This is the Quran. A lot of people said that they knew that I didn't have a Quran. In fact, I do have a Quran. I've read this book, and today we're going to be reading the Quran to you guys. I'm going to be showing you some amazing verses in this book, which a lot of people say didn't exist. So before we begin, I'd like to say something about the Bible. The Bible has some very clear-cut stories. These clear-cut stories don't really have a lot of interpretation among scholars or biblical scholars or Bible interpreters, whatever you want to call them. For example, the flood. The flood is a story that in the Bible, God caused it and killed thousands of people for being evil and wicked. Very clear-cut story. The story of the prophet who was going up on the hill, some boys mocked him. God called out a bear, and this bear mauled these either teenagers or young kids. God allowed this to happen. He caused this to happen. Very clear-cut stories. There's not a whole lot of interpretation that goes around, well, maybe God didn't do it or whatever. The point is, it's a clear-cut story in the Bible. In the same way, before we read the Quran, there are clear-cut verses and clear-cut passages within the Quran. You can say that it's metaphorically or it's figuratively, but there's certain verses that I'm going to show you in today that are not, it's very clear it's not metaphoric or figurative. It's very straightforward in what it specifically says. And we're going to start off with one of my most favorite verses in the Quran, favorite as in sarcasm, is the verse that says it's okay to beat your wife if she does not obey you. By all means, if I'm not going to put my own spin interpretation on this, but I read this for what it says and what it is. If you are a Muslim scholar and can somehow justify that this interpretation is not giving permission for a man to beat his wife if she does not obey, by all means, I'm open to listening to hear your interpretation or justification at how this is okay. So let's see what the Quran actually says. Quran 4:3. Men are maintainers of women because Allah has made some of them to excel others, and because they spend out their property, the good women, and therefore obedient, guarding the unseen as Allah has guarded. And as to those whose part you fear desertion, admonish them and leave them alone in sleeping places, and beat them. Then if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. Surely Allah is high great. I don't care what religion you're from. I don't care if you're non-religious. I don't believe that because your wife disobeys you, therefore that justifies you getting to hit her, or because she's not obeying Allah, therefore you get to hit her. No, no, and no, and no. Quran 38:44, and take in your hands a green branch and beat her with it, and do not break your oath. A lot of the comments in my previous video on Islam said that there are no verses in the Quran that state violence against people who do not convert. I was quite shocked at how many people did not actually read their own book, but I shouldn't be surprised as Christians do the same with their Bible. Quran 4:89, but they wish that ye should reject faith as they do, and thus be on the same footing as they. But take not friends from their ranks until they flee away in the way of Allah. But if they turn renegades, seize them and slay them wherever you find them, and take no friends or helpers from their ranks. Quran 5:33, the punishment of those who wage war against Allah and his messengers, and strike to make mischief in the land, is only this, that they should be murdered, or crucified, or their hands and feet cut off in opposite sides, or they should be imprisoned. This shall be a disgrace for them in the world and there hereafter, that they shall have no grievous chastisement. Quran 2:216, fighting is prescribed for you, and ye dislike it, but it is possible that ye dislike a thing which is good for you, and not ye love a thing which is bad for you, but Allah knoweth and ye know not. Quran 3:51, soon we shall cast terror in the hearts of the unbelievers, for they join companions with Allah for which he has sent no authority. Quran 4:74, let those who fight in the way of Allah, who sell the life of his world for the other, whose fighteth in the way of Allah shall be slain, or he shall be victorious on him, we shall bestow a vast reward. Quran 3:56, as those who reject faith, I will punish them with terrible agony in this world and in the hereafter, nor will they have anyone to help. Quran 4:95, not equal to the believers who sit and receive no hurt, and who strive and fight in the cause of Allah with their good deeds and their passions. Allah hath granted a grade higher to those who strive and fight with their goods and persons than those who sit. Unto all Allah promised good, but those who strive and fight hath he distinguished above those who sit by a special reward. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this verse is specifically criticizing moderate Muslims, or peaceful Muslims, or whatever you want to say, Muslims who don't agree with causing violence in the name of Allah or Islam. Of course, I could be completely wrong, but for me, that's what it sounds like. That's critiquing people who don't, believers who are Muslims, who don't want to fight, who don't want to cause harm to other people. Quran 8:12, I will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve, therefore strike off their heads and strike off every fingertip of them. Quran 9:5, so when the sacred months have passed away, then slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive and besiege them, and lie in wait for them in every ambush. Then if they repent and keep up the prayer and pay the poor rate, leave their way to free them. This last passage that I read to you is often quoted as slay the infidels, when in actuality it says slay the idolaters. But that's not even here or there. The point is that this book, these passages that I just read to you, are in this book right now. I've read this book completely, and for all of the people who claim that there's no verses in that claim violence or claim war, you're fucking wrong. These are clear cut. I'm not sure how much more clear I could get than slay the idolaters wherever you find them. What's an idolater? Well, how the Bible defines it in other religious books, idolater is someone who doesn't worship Allah or doesn't worship God. And to me, this last verse, Quran 9:5, explicitly states that if these people don't convert, you kill them. That's how Islam spread in the early days, was by waging war, fighting with people, and saying you either die or you convert. That's what I believe Islam is really about. To moderate Muslims who don't agree with that, that's perfectly fine, but that's what I believe these people, and people are not going to like this, people from ISIS, people from Al-Qaeda, these, as people like to call them, terrorists, which they are, I believe they understand what the Quran really is, and it's a book that does not promote peace. This is a book that promotes violence and war and killing of people who do not convert to Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles, I am not going to stand down from what I believe about this book. You can dislike this video and get me 10,000 dislikes, I don't care. The point is, I'm going to say, and I'm going to read exactly what this book said, and that's exactly what I have done here. If you want to try to interpret these and say that slaying all the idolaters and wanting to chop off people's heads is not a violent thing, by all means, I'd love to hear your interpretation or your justification on how that passage isn't what it's supposed to be about. Just like, you know, when the Bible tells people to stone homosexuals, Christians will say, well, Jesus came back and abolished the Old Testament, therefore that's no longer applicable. Well, I don't believe the Quran has the whole prophecy/revelation thing where Jesus comes back and annihilates the Old Testament. I'm pretty sure that does not exist in the Quran. So by all means, I'd love to hear what people have to say regarding these passages that I have read out to you. Furthermore, I'd also like to link several different links down below in the description. There's a full link which goes into all of the different passages in the Quran, many of which I did not even read or quote to you guys or show to you guys, that all claim waging war and to kill people who do not follow Allah. It's linked down below. All of the verses are there. You can read them for yourself if you really don't think that these passages I have shown to you are even in the Quran. So many of you religious nutjobs are so blind to your own holy book that you refuse to see anything negative that's in it. The second link I have posted down below is an early, there's a bunch of links in that link specifically, but it goes on the detail of early assassination attempts of people who wrote satirical poems about Islam and the Prophet Muhammad in the early days when Islam was spreading. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end the video with a promise that I said I would do. I would feature some fan art of the Prophet Muhammad, which I posted on my Facebook fan page asking if you're willing enough and you're not afraid of Islam, you're not afraid of what it can do and may do to you, post your fan art of the Prophet Muhammad. And this is what they drew.
Tried to tell me my religion was wrong. They tried to tell me to follow Islam. They said their prophet was a righteous dude, but I found out none of their words were true. I read the Quran and I read the Hadith, and the sickness of Muhammad was apparent to me. He justified perversion in the name of Allah when he married a girl too young for a bra. She was playing with dolls when the prophet came. Her childhood was stolen in Allah's name. Aisha was 9 when he took her to bed. Don't tell me that fool's not sick in the head. Ain't gonna follow no child molester, sex offender, prophet pretender. Ain't gonna follow no child molester.
Islam's not for me. Islam's not for me.
The sickness of the Islamic mind
has caused the mullahs to be blind.
to justify their prophet, they will justify sin, so the sins of the prophet are repeated again.
All over the world in Islamic states, 9-year-old girls suffer cruel fate.
Sold into marriage to twisted men, and Aisha's sad story is repeated again. Ain't gonna follow no child molester, sex offender, prophet pretender. Ain't gonna follow no child molester.
Islam's not for me. Islam's not for me. Do you care about women all over the world?
Do you care about those little girls?
Then stand up and fight for human rights. Speak out against the laws of Islam.
Ain't gonna follow no child molester, sex offender, prophet pretender. Ain't gonna follow no child molester.
Islam's not for me. Islam's not for me.